Constructing your life is about much more than just building a bank account. Each week, join real estate entrepreneur and mindset coach Austin Linney as he interviews guests who are constructing their dream lives and impacting the world around them on a daily basis. If you're an entrepreneur or wanting to start a business, or you just want to hear motivating stories of how others have overcome the odds, you are in the right place. And now for your host, Austin Linney.
Guys, welcome back to Construct Your Life. This is Austin Linney here, and in true Austin Linney fashion, we have Mr. Chris Middleton in the house. I know literally nothing about him, so this is going to be amazing. My man, how are you doing?
Great. No complaints. It's a beautiful day.
Awesome. Well, what I like to do with my guests is you kind of share your story and kind of start where you want to, and we'll get to know you, and we'll have a great conversation.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Where do I start? Oh boy. So Chris Middleton, I'm the founder and chief tax strategist of Tax Reduction University. That's a new venture that I'm launching, but I'm a trained bean counter. I've been doing taxes for almost 15 years, I think. Just kind of morphed over the last few years into more of a tax strategist, and that's what prompted me to, my journey is launching Tax Reduction University, trying to take tax saving strategies to more people, because as a consultant, I can only do so many, work with so many people at a time, and so just building something that is going to be a repository for business owners to go to get clear, concise education.
Well, what's interesting, right, is especially coming from an entrepreneurship world where I coach a lot of entrepreneurs in real estate in general, it's what I found, and this is kind of my thing because when I work private equity, it's the things that aren't the sexiest that move the needle the most. Not only that, know where the deals are the most, right? And when I tell all young kids, I said, if you want to find deals, you talk to your tax guy, your title guy, your lawyer guy. Don't go talk to the other agents, right? And so how do you take a subject that nobody wants to hear about, and how do you make it consumable and actually something to get their attention?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And I hit on that. I'm recording content for or what I call True, Tax Reduction University, or True. And I hit on that. It's like, some of these things are not sexy, they're not fun, but they're fundamentals. And, Michael Jordan, right? He using one of the greatest of all time, he performed incredibly well. But he drilled and practiced free throws. And, as a kid, I watched a documentary that Bulls documentary, The Final Dance or The Last Dance, and he was doing the things that weren't sexy early on and continued to do those his whole career. So I take tax saving strategies, and there are some, and I can share one that I feel is really a sexy strategy. I take tax strategies, and every course within Tax Reduction University is designed to be no more than 30 to 45 minutes. And even within that course structure, it's broken down into like 5-minute segments. So each segment is provided, and then I use what I call the triple E. I call it educate, evaluate, and execute. So I'm going to teach you something. I'm going to give you a tool to evaluate that something. How does that apply to me? And then I'm going to give you a tool to execute that something. So knowledge is not power, knowledge applied. That's where real power lies. So if I can give you something in bite-sized chunks that's digestible, then you're going to be able to grasp onto that concept and say, oh, okay, well, how does that apply to me? And okay, now that I figured out that applies to me, or maybe doesn't apply to me yet, it might apply in 6 months, but now I can take that knowledge, evaluate it in my fact pattern, and then execute and move the needle on my tax bill.
I think in America, if you look at business in general, and let's say the coaching business or just real estate in general, I don't think we have an information problem. I think we have a package problem. I think that they're overcomplicating how you're selling somebody an offer, or the explanation is making it so complicated that, there's a great book out there by Orrin Claff, who is this deal rainmaker out of California who structures deals and stuff. And it's called Pitch Anything. And there's another one called Sell Anything. And he says, you have to understand that there's three parts of the brain. And the number one brain that addresses people when you first meet them is the crocodile mind. And the crocodile mind is a survival-based mind. So when you talk figures or you talk numbers, the brain just shuts down.
Yeah.
And so you can have everything that you want to sell them. Like you could sell, like I'm building multiple businesses right now. I need you. Like I need you now before we even start the corporate structure, right? But I don't need you to sell me on all those things. I need you to sell me on why I would work with you. And then once you have me in the door, then we can talk about all this other stuff.
Yep. I agree. No, you're spot on. And it's evaluating what is the immediate need, and that survival mode. I love that. I wrote that down. So what's the guy's name?
Yeah, I'll send you the book. I'll show you pictures after the interview. They're so good. Yeah, but what do you think? Who is your main client that you serve currently? What space do you operate in, or is it multiple spaces?
So it's multiple spaces, but exclusively business owners. So, who.
Perfect.
Yeah. So business owners, if you're an entrepreneur, and I would classify real estate investors as business owners. So I turn away, working in my consulting business, I turn away clients that are not business owners, and Tax Reduction University is specifically designed for the busy business owner.
So at the end of the day, what do you think? Let's start it from A to Z. I rarely get granular, but when I have guys like this on the podcast, I want to really provide value to my listeners. Let's start from day one. What do you think is the number 1 or 2, 3 mistakes that you see business owners or real estate investors when they're starting to build a company like an LLC wise when it comes to taxes?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the biggest mistake that business owners have is they don't have a plan and they don't have a system. And that's what I'm all about. I'm actually working right now with collaborating with a firm that does business consulting. And
that's what I do.
So we're working together to collaborate and say, okay, if we're going to work together, because this is a new business venture for me and them. So what is the plan? What is the process? What is the system? And so often business owners they get all excited. They're chasing the deal. They're jumping in and it's like, hey, everything's going gung ho. And then 6 months later, they look up and they're like, oh, shoot, I don't have X, Y, or Z lined up, and they're facing problems. Mm-hmm. So the same comes with your taxes, is having a system to educate, evaluate, and execute, right? And that's what I do, is I provide from the financial side, provide that system. To get even more granular than that, starting with a system for your record keeping. I see that with people that are flipping houses, right? If you're in the flip space, that is the number one headache. People are like, oh, they don't want to deal with the record keeping. But then it comes to, you've got a capital gain on that property you flipped. Well, now you really want to be figuring out, well, what did I spend in that? Or I spent this or that. So, dialing in your system for record keeping is super critical.
So there's this guy that I love. I don't know if have you ever heard of Rob Dyrdek? The guy from MTV or so, whatever. Long story short, he buys a bunch of businesses, partners up with people. And he says that one of the things that he looks at from a business owner's point of view when he's going to spend a ton of money and invest in somebody is how good are their records? How good is their reporting? Because he knows that if the reporting's not good, then their mind's all over the place. And here's what I know. What you're talking about, I literally want nothing to do with. When I say I want nothing to do with it, I would rather lay brick in July in Texas than worry. But I've surrounded myself with people like my business partner who loves tax code and spreadsheets. And I will hire people like you. And I think as an entrepreneur, you have to outsource what you would do for me would take me 3 months, you could do in a day.
Right.
And so you get what you pay for. And if you don't understand that, when it comes to getting a loan, you need proper records. When it comes to filing your taxes, you need proper records. These are the things that you have to think about. And you really have to think with the end in mind and then work backwards. So that being said, what's the first 2 or 3 steps that somebody as a business owner, if they were to engage somebody like you, what's the reason that they would come to you? Is it to start a business? Is it to handle taxes when it comes to real estate? Like, what do they need to be thinking about when they're looking to engage somebody like you?
Yeah, I love what you say about, hiring other and outsourcing what you're not good at, what your passion's not. I always say the highest and best use of your time is probably not what I do, right? There's very few people that do that. And to be clear, I don't do the bookkeeping. I partner with people that come in and
even better.
Yeah. I'm like, that's not my jam. So when people come to Tax Reduction University, they're looking either as a startup. Tax Reduction University is ideal for a startup to help you fundamentally build from the ground up a tax efficient business. Mm-hmm. Or if you're a business that's already just going gung ho and you're feeling the tax pinch, Tax Reduction University is designed to help you optimize, figure out what you're already doing, and then say, how can we do it better? Or figure out what you're not doing and should you be doing that?
Mm-hmm. And, it's interesting because there's 2 schools of thought. I have a friend who's a big flipper and wholesaler. And he said, listen, when I was getting started, I wanted to make so much money that I had to worry about taxes. Right. And I love that on some level, because ultimately, you're going to get you started and you're going to take action. Right. But as you get more seasoned, I think that you kind of know, like I'm building out like a really big company right now. Like it's like my legacy. There's like so many moving parts with different payment structures and profit sharing. And it really is out of my depths when it comes to, like, I know the idea of it and how I want to support everybody, but how to execute on it is not really the case. Right. But as you start getting deeper in with consultants or lawyers that actually do a good job, you understand there's so much wisdom in bringing on somebody that's looking at the blind side that you're not seeing 6 months down the road. Because if I was focused on what you're focused on, then I could never do my job.
Right. You couldn't go after that, that vision of what you have that you want to build out. And that's where, I was interacting with somebody in a Facebook group the other day, and he was like, hey, who wants to form an LLC and buy this property and have, 10% share? It is kind of like a vacation rental type thing, as a pipe dream, is gorgeous mansion in some exotic part of the world. And there was somebody given just lousy tax advice, and I in a Facebook forum, and I jumped in and I was like, trying to like head that off at the pass. But and I messaged the guy and we had an offline conversation. He's like, yeah, I know a lot about that stuff, but that's not really my jam. So I work with, these other people, and I could tell that gal was not given good advice. And I was like, good for you, man. You've surrounded yourself with people, because he's focused on driving his business forward in the vision that he has and doing what he's good at, which is building something, and then has the support team behind him to do that. So I think that's a phenomenal outlook on life.
So when it comes to LLCs, right, that's the hot, should I start one? Should I get, and I've done Airbnb, so we could talk about that a little bit and how there's depreciation and you can write things off. But if you're a real estate investor, short answer to, do you need an LLC to invest?
So technically, no. You can do that in your own name, right, as an individual. So I'm in California, and California,
God bless.
Yeah,
so am I now too, but
yeah, I'm here for got kids here, so my ex has them anyway. So I'm here for a while. I'm serving my sentence anyway. So at the end of the day, really, tax wise, you're not really taxed differently as an LLC. If you're a true LLC, if you elect to be an S corp, then there's some subtle differences there. But it depends on your state. If you're in Arizona or Florida or Tennessee, where it's super cheap, or Texas, where it's super cheap to form an LLC. Mm-hmm. In California, if you form an LLC, whether you do business, you have business going or do nothing, you owe them that $800 pound of flesh every year.
Sure.
So, for people in California to form an LLC or multiple LLCs, that could get very costly very quickly. So I always say, examine your state and where you're at, and does that make sense? And does the cost outweigh the benefit, or does the benefit outweigh that cost? But yes, if you wanted some liability protection, I'm not an attorney, nor do I play one on TV, is what I say, but, consult an attorney and say, what does an LLC do for me liability wise versus holding it my own? What keeps you up at night, right? If these things keep you up at night, and you talk to a good attorney and say, hey, how does an LLC protect me where good insurance maybe won't? So I always say, look at what are your goals with that LLC before you jump in and form the LLC, because now you've got potentially reporting requirements, an additional tax return, or a more complex tax return. So to get to the answer, it kind of depends, mm-hmm. right? And then I have a whole module in Tax Reduction University where I examine and say, here's why you would want to become an LLC, or here's why you want to be an S corporation, or here's why you want to remain a C corporation, or here's why you would want to stay as a sole proprietor. So it just depends on, here's the pros and cons, and do the pros outweigh the cons.
Oh, I love that. And is there any aspects that a entrepreneur or a real estate investor tips that they're overlooking that they miss all the time when it comes to taxes?
Are we talking about like real estate investor, meaning I'm going out and buying hold or flips?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just a typical real estate investor, because I think we can get moving so quickly that we kind of skip over things that are right in front of our face sometimes.
Yeah, there's some home optimization type things that are really key. Specifically one called the Augusta Rule.
Okay.
Are you familiar with that one?
I am not. No.
Okay. So this is one of two strategies. There's a second strategy I'd like to share with you a little later. I call it the 5,000 turbocharge your website using Uncle Sam's dollars. This one I call it the $12,000 write-off your CPA doesn't know about. So the Augusta Rule is a loophole in the tax law. It's section 280A, little g. And what it allows is you can rent your home out as long as it's 14 days or less. You don't have to pay tax on the rental income. Okay. So let me ask you this. Do you do goal setting in your business?
Of course.
Of course. Okay. And when you set goals, like let's say you sit down and do I do my annual goal setting in October. Mm-hmm. So I can prime the pump get all juice for the fourth quarter, and then start my year with my goals in mind. So when you do your annual goal setting, how long does it take you to do your goals?
There's probably an initial hour, and then there's updating over and over again, leading up to finishing them.
Okay. So would you say it's fair that you spend at least a day, maybe a day and a half or 2 days, like actually dialing in your goals? Mm-hmm. Okay. So that tells me you're setting really good goals that are broken down. Like, here's my overarching goal, but then here's what I need to do monthly or quarterly, monthly, weekly, and daily. So to do a proper goal setting workshop, you really need to take that time. So to get back to the taxes, because you're like, why is Chris talking about goal setting? This is crazy. So most business owners have any quote unquote event like that they're spending annually and possibly quarterly to set their goals for their business and then track their goals and their progress. Where do you host or do that event personally? Where, when you set your goals?
In my house. Yeah.
In your house. So you're missing a write-off for the venue where you're hosting that event. So we figured out there's an event that you're holding as a business owner. You know, big corporations, Apple, Amazon, right? They have off-site or retreats where they take their executives and they go and they do exactly that. They talk about goals and mission and all the fun stuff for strategic planning for their business. Well, they go off-site. You as a business owner, or your off-site is your house. You're locking yourself away and saying, I'm going to do that. Well, when big companies go and they have an off-site, they're doing that and they're paying for a venue. So you as well could be paying yourself for the venue of your home. Amazing. So I break this down into 3 steps. And this is a very, very fast version of this, but you before the event, during the event, and after the event. So before the event, we determine what is it? What's the bona fide, legitimate business event that we're going to be holding? Is it goal setting? Is it business operations? Are you taking time out of your business to work on your business? Are you working on operational, improvement? Are you working on strategic alliance? What is it that you're doing? So let's say you did this 1 day per month. Mm-hmm. So every month you have 1 day that you set aside, shut everything off, pull yourself up and just have some deep work and focus work on improving your business from an operational strategic planning point of view. So now we have an agenda. We should have, what is the event that we're going to hold? We're going to have, hey, who's going to be coming to this event? Is it just me? Is it a partner? Is it like my buddy that I'm working on this strategic alliance with? Are we going to have a day where we're going to meet together? So you say, okay, let's say there's 2 to 3 people for this event. So before the event is held, we figure out what the event is. We figure out what the agenda is. Now we can reach out to local venues and say, hey, I need a space. I need to get a comparable, I need a quote. How much would it cost to rent an executive boardroom with a whiteboard, with audio visual equipment, all that stuff so that we can have a productive business planning meeting? What do you think a room or a meeting space like that would cost in your area?
My area, a lot right now. I mean, it would be, a couple thousand for sure.
Yeah. And I can tell you in Sacramento, it's looking at, if you're looking at audio visual equipment, an executive boardroom, 3 to 5 people, you're looking at $1,000 to $1,500 per day. Easy. So you reach out, you say, here's what the event is, you get a comparable quote. So now I have, hey, let's just say it's $1,000 a day just to keep the math simple. So $1,000 per day for an event that I'm holding once a month. That's $12,000 a year, right? So now during the event, you document, you say, here's what happened, here's why it happened, here's what we covered. This is you're kind of documenting the productivity of the event or the meeting, right? And then after the event, you say, okay, you gather your records, you gather those comparable quotes, you gather the agenda, you gather the planning documents that you use to plan the event, and you write yourself a check. You say, hey, my business rented my home from me for the use of my home for that meeting. So if you do, again, $1,000 per day as a comparable quote for venues around, and I really say you should get 3 to 4 comps to figure out what's reasonable rent. People say, well, I'm going to charge $5,000 a day. Well, is that reasonable? Is that reasonable for your area? Because the criteria, again, to recap, are this cannot be more than 14 days during the year. Mm-hmm. So you can't do this. If you do it 15 days, you busted the strategy. Now you have to pay income tax on that rent that you collect.
Sure.
So it's 14 days or less. They don't have to be consecutive, just as long as it's 14 or less. The rent has to be reasonable, and you have to have a legitimate bona fide business reason for hosting the event.
Stuff like that, it really is a mindset shift, because you make a decision that I'm not going to take it at face value. I'm going to explore options and not be upset with the system, but look at the system and say, how can the system support me and help me out, right? And that's why it's there in the first place. And I think you have to start with that mindset shift first, and then you become more open to options, right? So what's the second strategy that you were talking about?
So yeah, and you're just real quick to hit on that. You're precisely right. And this is where most business owners, they're already doing, if they're running a good business, they're already doing some of those fundamental things. So now it's just hey, educate, evaluate, and execute to make that simple shift to say, oh, well, I'm already doing that. So I'm missing this write-off that I could be taking as a tax deduction for my business, and basically a tax-free distribution out of my business, right? So it's a phenomenal thing. So riddle me this, Batman, on strategy number 2. Do you have a website?
Of course, yes.
Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit. Is your website ADA compliant?
I have no idea.
Okay, so I'm asking that question because in 1992, the ADA, or Americans with Disability Act, was enacted, right? And that's where Congress, the whole point and intent of the law was to increase accessibility for a community to businesses, right? Well, in 2008, the ADA was updated, and I recognize I'm talking to a real estate group here, so real estate people. So when you say ADA, they're like, "Oh, don't talk to me about that. That's wheelchair ramps, and I got to make all these improvements." Oh, the headache that goes along with that. So don't mentally freeze up when we're talking about ADA. Let's just bear with me. But at the end of the day, in 2008, the Americans with Disability Act was updated in several ways. And one of those ways was it was updated to include the virtual space. So websites have a requirement to be ADA compliant. Well, for colorblind or, hearing impaired, it's things like that. So for most business owners that have a website, one, again, I'm not an attorney, nor do I play one on TV, but at the end of the day, if your website's not ADA compliant, there's been a historical uptick in the frivolous lawsuits, people going after non-compliant websites. And Google a few months ago announced an initiative where they are going to suppress, potentially in the rankings, websites that are not ADA compliant. So your search engine optimization organic rankings could be suppressed if you're not ADA compliant. So there's a lot of good reasons to make your website ADA compliant. But at the end of the day, if you're investing in ADA compliance, there's a tax credit available. So if you're putting money into your website, or for the real estate group, if you're, investors, if you're making a property ADA compliant, the tax credit is 50% of what you spend, from $250 to $10,250. So there is a potential $5,000 tax credit annually that you can claim if you can show that you're investing in ADA compliance. Now, there's 2 criteria to meet this. Well, 3. One, you have to be investing in ADA compliance, which again, a website can qualify. And if you're either $1 million or less in gross revenue, or you have less than 30 full-time equivalent employees. So I don't know about you, but I know a lot of businesses that are over $1 million in gross revenue, but way less than 30 full-time equivalent employees. So the great news here is there's a lot of people that are potentially qualifying for this $5,000 tax credit.
So I have a client that I consult with who's writing a book right now on how to structure real estate deals. Yep. Nothing that anybody talks about, but he does $50, $80 million deals, and he's saving clients millions, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Guys, what he just explained in the last two strategies, this is how you create separation in your business from your competitors by paying attention to the details and exploring options to keep more money, to operate a business more efficiently. So take some time to spend once a month to look at these options and evaluate your business, and then you get to write it off like he explained. So if people want to find out more about the university and what you do, how would they do that?
So taxreductionuniversity.com.
I love it. Guys, if you got some value from this episode, make sure you send it out to your friends, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Construct Your Life with Austin Linney. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and pay it forward by sharing with a friend. Most importantly, take this opportunity to start constructing your life by taking immediate action on what you learned. For show notes, resources, and more information on one-on-one coaching with Austin, visit constructyourlifepodcast.com.